What's up, YouTube? My name is Jason, and this is my take. And I'm back with another video, and today is another installment of From Worst to First, where I go through and rank the albums of different artists. Last time I did Drake's discography, and today we're going to be doing the discography of Kanye West. I don't think that Kanye West needs an introduction. We all know him. One of the greatest artists we've ever seen, especially in hip hop. A man who is not shy from the media and his different antics and different things. And also has a documentary that's out. I got to catch the first episode. It was amazing. So I'm excited to see what else this thing turns into. Kanye is one of my favorite artists of all time. In a very big love-hate relationship with the guy, but I really do hope the best for him despite his craziness. And so in this video, we're gonna be looking at Kanye's 10 studio albums and ranking them from worst to first. And just to start, some albums that are not included in this list are his collab with Jay-Z, Watch the Throne, his Cruel Summer compilation with Good Music, and an amazing collaboration with Kid Cudi, Kids See Ghosts. Now for this list, we're just focusing on Kanye's solo albums, and I hope that you guys understand that this is my list because I already know that some of my placements here you're not gonna agree with, and if you do, I would be very shocked. But before I dive into this, I just want to say, of these 10 albums, I only think Kanye has one bad album. So, you know, don't take it too personally with some of the albums that might be lower on the list. I still think they're dope, but it's just the strength of the other ones and just how it goes. So that bad album that I'm mentioning at number 10 is Jesus is King. And honestly, I feel like this album had potential. This is Kanye's first album after, you know, just coming out more as a believer and as a Christian and being more focused on making that type of music. And this was also coming off of some very interesting moves by Kanye West, mainly being his presidential campaign and, you know, him going on these, you know, different press runs, and, you know, he made like a weird Harriet Tubman comment. So it was one of those times for Kanye that we've kind of been seeing him for, but he did release this project, and, you know, I just feel like so much was missing, and the execution just was not it. First, when it comes to the Sunday Service Choir, that was just on the intro track. I think that the intro track was the best song on the project, and I wish that he would have incorporated them more. I know they had their own solo album that was amazing, so I wish that they were on there more. Also just felt like just Kanye and him talking about Jesus, God, and you know, just incorporating that now into his music. I don't know, Jesus felt more like an aesthetic to me than anything, rather than someone that he loves, worships, and all of that. It came off really odd, and, you know, like I said, coming off of the other antics and different things that was going on, like it just felt weird to me. Along with some awful songs that featured some of Kanye's like cringiest lyrics. This, you know, this just wasn't one of those ones that I returned to really at all. I only returned to it just to make this video and make sure that this was in my last spot. So at number 9 on my list, which I might get a lot of hate for here, is Kanye's most recent album, Donda. And honestly, the issues that I did have with Kanye on Jesus is King, I feel like he really made up for on Donda, which I think is a solid album. And despite it being 27 songs, about an hour and 50 minutes of material, I thought it came together as a pretty cohesive listen. You know, with everything, I still feel like what made this such a cool project was just how Kanye continued to experiment and play with different sounds from a production perspective, and continue to just push those barriers and not do the same things. I think that Kanye had some very memorable moments on this thing, had so many features on this thing: Lil Baby, The Weeknd, Travis Scott, Griselda, man, like Jay Electronica, so many different people. We got Jay-Z returning on this thing. But also, given just the length of this thing, there was just so much unnecessary filler on here. There were like 4 or 5 part 2s to songs that were just the exact same thing. And if there was a feature on there, they gave the same verse and they just added another feature on it. Like, I think if Kanye would have cut this to like 14, 15 tracks, like this would have been, this could have been higher on the list. This could have been fighting for a higher spot. Because I think that at least half or a little over half of the songs on here were amazing. But there was just so much that just didn't need to be there. But I was overall satisfied with this thing. I don't know if I'll be listening to Donda 2, which is actually supposed to be dropping today as I'm recording this. But I'm not paying $200 for a stem player. But I do hope that he improves upon, you know, this first Donda, and that the second one turns out to be really good as well. I just might not be listening to it. So at number 8 is Kanye's 2018 7-track project, Ye. Now, with the release of this project, Kanye was coming off of some pretty big mental health issues. I think that he had checked himself in to a mental health facility in LA or something at this time as well. And, you know, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And, you know, that was something that he spoke about on this project just a little bit, mainly on the intro track. Kanye was also coming off of the TMZ Slavery is a Choice thing as well. It wasn't a good look. And what I hate the most is that off of stuff like this, Kanye turns around and makes a very, very dope project. I think that Ye is one of Kanye's more underrated projects and has some songs that are really great that we just don't talk about like that. Whether it's Ghost Town with Kid Cudi or Violet Crimes where Kanye's talking about the player's curse. One of my favorite Kanye West songs of all time is No Mistakes that features Charlie Wilson, and that combination is always amazing. And the way he flipped like that Slick Rick bedtime story sample within the song was perfect. Kanye still did his thing on this one, man. And it was short and it was sweet, but it left me wanting more. In that it just didn't feel like it should have ended yet, you know. Now, at number 7 on my list is 2008's 808s and Heartbreak. And man, was this a significant shift in Kanye's sound and his approach to music. Now, for those who don't know, this was Kanye's first album post the tragic death of his mother, Donda West. And you could really feel Kanye's pain and the hurt and just how he let it all out on this album. As on this one, it's a very more melodic sounding, and Kanye does a lot more singing, a lot more auto-tune infusions on this thing. And honestly, while a lot of people weren't expecting this or didn't want it or didn't like it, I felt like Kanye had an amazing execution on this project. And we had some of his most memorable tracks, from Amazing with Jeezy to Heartless, which is just a Kanye classic. And I feel like Kanye entered into a different sound, but it sounded like he already knew what he was doing. And honestly, this was a turning point, as like Kanye's music just did not sound the same as it did pre-808s, you know, the College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation trilogy. Like after that, Kanye's music just was not the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. And one of those albums post 808s that comes in at the number 6 spot is The Life of Pablo. And man, I can still remember sophomore year in college when, you know, this whole rollout of this album was happening. Kanye had to have had like 5 or 6 different names for this album. He had the listening party on Tidal and then released it, and it was only 10 songs. And then it expanded to like 16 or 17, like a few days later. And then like now it's 20 songs. Like Kanye, this was when we really started to see Kanye just like redoing stuff or tweaking things, adding a feature, removing stuff. Like it was really, it was really just so interesting to see. But man, this album was so good. It had so many different memorable moments. We were introduced to Designer for the first time, and everybody was thinking he was Future. We had Young Thug, Weeknd, Rihanna collabs. We had Real Friends and No More Parties in LA with Kendrick. Like, is this album in the right position? Should I move this up? But man, you had what, 30 hours with 3 Stacks. I still think he disrespected 3 Stacks and how he used them on that song, but it was still cool. And Kanye was just as energetic and cocky as ever. And you really felt it on this album. He had infusions of gospel in there as well with Ultra Light Beam with Chance the Rapper. Like, there was just so much happening, but it was all just done like only Kanye can do it. Just one of those albums that we really were talking about for a while in 2016. And we had like a Lemonade that released as well right around that time. So, you know, Kanye came through with another great album. All right, so at number 5, and I might get some hate for this, and it's clear that you guys might know what album I have here, given that it wasn't at the bottom, but at number 5, I got Yeezus. Now look, like I said, most people probably think this is one of Kanye's worst, if not worst projects. I personally say that something is wrong with y'all, because honestly, this album is incredible to me. And you know, the way that Kanye experimented with so many different sounds and made a more experimental record. I wouldn't say it's really very experimental compared to other artists in that lane in hip hop, but he came through with some of his best sounding music, some very memorable songs and lyrics. And I personally feel like the greatness of this album needs to be discussed more when it comes to last decade and Kanye's discography, because I think it gets way more hate than it should. We had Cudi on this thing, we had Frank Ocean on here, Chief Keef popped up, man. Like it was really a moment to me. I think this was what, senior year of high school for me, 2013. So I feel like you guys should give this another try. If you really like were just turned off by this thing way back, like this, I think it aged well, and I think it is one of Kanye's best albums. Black Skinhead, I Am a God, Blood on the Leaves. Y'all tripping, bro. All right, at number 4, we got Graduation. And this was the 3rd installment in Kanye's college trilogy. And to me, it was easily his most accessible and mainstream album to date at that point. It's like so many songs from this album were on the radio back in 2007, late 2007, 2008 when this album came out. You had Stronger, which is still like one of Kanye's biggest singles. You had Good Life with T-Pain, Champion, Can't Tell Me Nothing, Flashing Lights, Homecoming. This album was just littered with so many hits. And I feel like, you know, this was Kanye's 3rd album, and I feel like he really cracked the code at this point. Like, he was a certified hit maker. And along with that came very, very good projects. He was making hits on top of having really good projects, and you usually get one or the other. So I think that really, you know, is what made Kanye so amazing at the time, and he was just really on a roll. All right, we're in our top 3 now. And so for me, at number 3, I got College Dropout. This was our introduction to Kanye, you know, his first studio album. And, you know, as I was making this list, I was just thinking about a lot of other rap albums and the memorable ones at least. I think that this album should definitely go down as one of the most memorable debut albums in hip hop. We were introduced to Kanye's amazing production style and his techniques and just his ear for these beats that always just had your head nodding. I feel like when I talk to people, or like if College Dropout, a song from there comes on, like everybody knows the words. Like this album was just so memorable. And Kanye was really just showing that like he was more than a producer who was behind the boards. And you had songs like Jesus Walks on here, New Workout Plan, All Falls Down, Through the Wire, Slow Jams. Like there were just so many moments on here. And like I said, we're just seeing this theme here with this list. Like Kanye just has so many memorable moments in his catalog. And that's why I personally say that when it comes to a versus battle, there's no other rapper, there's no other artist in hip hop to me that is beating Kanye. I feel like Wayne might be the closest, but let me know in the comments what y'all think. Like, y'all think anybody could beat Kanye in a versus? Because I personally don't think so. At number 2 on my list is Late Registration. And this is Kanye's 2nd studio album. And in my opinion, of that trilogy of College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. I think that Late Registration is the best of the three, because this also had not only some of Kanye's greatest songs on it, but I think it came on what is arguably his most cohesive project from top to bottom. And this is still coming on an album that had so many different skits with Broke Five Broke and, you know, Mr. West and those different things. But the way everything just flowed, including those interludes, was nearly flawless. You had Touch the Sky on here with Lupe, Gold Digger, which was just such a moment, Diamonds from Sierra Leone, which is easily top 10 Kanye songs. We Major with Nas, as well as Hey Mama, which was a tribute to his mom, who was living at the time, and it was such a beautiful song. We had Paul Wall on this thing, Common on here. Adam Levine was singing. Like there was just so much packed into this album. It was 21 tracks, but it didn't feel like a drag or anything at all. Like I love this album so much, but there is an album that tops it, and obviously at number one, what I feel is Kanye's best album is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Now look, I haven't listened to every album out there, even in hip hop, but I've listened to a lot. And this album right here is one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. And to me, on this album, Kanye was his most confident, his most cocky, and his most ambitious on what I believe is an undeniable classic. You had a very guitar-led Gorgeous with Kid Cudi, all of the lights with, I don't know how many people Cudi was on there, Alicia Keys, I think Fergie was on there, So Appalled, you know, Monster. There were so many different posse cuts on here. We had Jay-Z and Pusha T, Nicki Minaj with one of her most memorable features of all time. Rick Ross had one of arguably his greatest features on Devil in a New Dress. Every song on here was memorable. Every song had an impact on making this album great. And you just don't get albums like this. You really don't. Kanye was just in a different mode, man. This is before Watch the Throne. Like, and this is coming off of, you know, 808s and Heartbreak. Like he just was on a different type of mission. Like, you know, hearing about how crazy his studio sessions were in Hawaii and like dress codes and like different rules. Like Kanye was so locked in, and it showed on this thing. And to me, it's easily Kanye's best album, and it's easily one of the best albums in hip hop. No question about it. So guys, that is my list. Kanye's albums ranked from worst to first. What did you guys think of my list? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Give me your ranking in the comments, and tell me what I should tweak or what should be different. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in to another week of Jason's Take. Got more videos coming for you next week. Thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm Jason. This has been my take, and I'll see you next time.